What's up everybody, welcome to Money Management channel. My name is Andrei and today I'm gonna be doing an update on MMTLP and FINRA saga.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up.
And guys, for today's video I have really interesting news. I would say that it might literally blow your mind because potentially, well, I have some thoughts about the debt of the company and the most recent S1 statement. I was thinking about this for quite a while, and I can tell you that potentially Greg McCabe wanted to collect some money to pay to himself. And I will explain you my thoughts, and you can argue with this statement, but let's first of all start with this set of tweets. Junk Saver reposted the tweet from KeyCap, and we have an update in Meta bankruptcy case. And I have to admit that this explanation was made by KeyCap with a very high level of proficiency, and it explains in a plain English the most recent updates for the MMAT bankruptcy case. I don't want to dig deeper inside this because it is not the topic for today's video. I want to pay attention to George Palikors. He responded to KeyCap and he said thank to him, and he also wrote great summary, and I hope people take the time to read it. And yes, it might affect the MMTLP shareholders, but guys, I want to pay attention to the discussion that that happened basically right after this announcement. Jennifer Vitrana published this space call, and it is a almost 3.5 hours long audio. I listened to this podcast for a while, for a couple of dozens of minutes, and George Palikors explained his point of view, and well, I would say that this is very interesting to hear, but it raises even more questions to George Palikors. And let me quote you some comments under this space call. And we all know that we have two parts of the MMTLP community. One part think that the only entities and only people who are guilty in MMTLP story are the authorities like ICC and FINRA. And the second part of the community thinks that they are not the only who were involved in these illegal procedures. Potentially former CEOs was also well, a part of this scheme. And Sam is one of these people. She thinks that George Palikors and John Burda are guilty in this case, and we all know that it was an ongoing, and it is an ongoing litigation process against them, and Metamaterials already paid $1 million of fine because of the illegal actions from the company and from the former CEOs. And she published several tweets. Well, it is quite interesting, but she gives zero new information about the involvement of George Palikors in the so-called Ponzi scheme. But a lot of people still think that he is an innocent person, and to be honest, I don't know what to think about this. I want to tell you that as long as we don't have a judge's decision on his case, we cannot say that he is guilty. We can just assume that some of his actions raises more questions to his behavior and to his personality back in the days and at this very moment. And here is one of the tweets that grabs my attention. Sam wrote, George owned lead scientist called MMAT a Ponzi scheme. And here is the tweet from Boris Corbin. You can Google who this person was. And this is the screenshot of his statement. The logical and anticipated end. And he refers to the bankruptcy of the MMAT. He wrote, the logical and anticipated end, vivid manifestation of failed leadership in pursuit of an easy fast money through a false PR, SPAC Ponzi schemes and stock market manipulations. Most of MMTLP technologies and business units are useless, which was obvious to me since Roll's merger and acquisition in 2016. Roll's RML and Nana Web Tech was an exception, but delusional CEO and corrupt board never allocated right resources to this BU. even after IPOs with ridiculously high company valuation. Looking forward to the assets auction soon. And guys, you can think of it as the part of investigation that was used in the case against George Palikars and John Burda, and you can rely on this fact or not, but it is still here. If you haven't read the SEC case against MMAT, George Palikars and John Burda, you will never know what facts are there. And what did George Palikars and John Burda exactly do at that moment? On top of that, guys, let me show you quite interesting tweet from George Palikars himself. And he responded to the tweet that was written by Ocelot 16 hours ago. And Ocelot, well, he responded to several tweets, and I want to pay your attention to just this tweet. I mean, there were filings of fact and cease and desist in an administrative proceedings that found metamaterials did in fact engage in market manipulation. They paid $1 million fine for that. And let me show you the response of George Palikars. George wrote, "Keep it coming, as since we are now trading in selective quotations and confident half-truths, how about we tighten the record? The SEC order you are citing is a settled administrative order, entered on a not admit, not non-deny basis. Do you understand what that means? There was no litigated verdict, no judicial finding after trial, and no admission or wrongdoing by the company or me. Conflating the SEC filings in a settlement with proven facts is rhetorical convenience, not legal accuracy. If you are going to posture about truth, at least get your posture right. For additional context, which you choose to omit or have no clue about. The SEC initially sought penalties many orders of magnitude higher than what ultimately settled. Numerous alleged violations were later dropped or narrowed. The final resolution was $1 million, structured over time, specifies it shall be made in the following installments: $250,000 within 30 days, $250,000 within 120 days, $250,000 within 210 days, remaining balance within 300 days. And notably, when the company entered Chapter 7, the SEC does not appear as a creditor, while other creditors do. Now draw your own conclusion. And this is quite interesting and, in my opinion, important part. So, the SEC was also aware of the company's impending bankruptcy well in advance, months. Now draw your own conclusion on that too, but don't try too hard. We don't want you to hurt your little brain. And guys, it is not the best narrative from George Palikars. I would like to see more polite conversation between these people. So, let me quote you further. I have formally requested that all related communications be made public rather than sealed, despite the SEC preferring otherwise. Transparency should not be conditional or one-way. Separately, the Nevada Chapter 7 trustee has now engaged a specialist forensic accounting firm. You can find it in the docket. Those issues, if any, I should be very clear, relate to conduct after my departure. That process is ongoing and will speak for itself. I am not concerned with online narratives by you or others. I'm interested in evidence, timelines, and discovery. Courts tend to prefer those as well. And since you seem deeply invested in truth, feel free to send your contact details. I'm happy to add you to the guest list to observe the facts firsthand, notwithstanding your own public statements that you hold no shares in MMAT, TRCH or MMTLP, etc. In fact, I want this to be live streamed if possible, and I will try my best to get the court's permission. In the meantime, you might consider either adding qualifiers to your posts or acknowledging the limits of what you actually know or understand, unless you have a professional legal background or getting advice from such. Otherwise, carry on posting whatever speculative nonsense you like, or at least admit and reveal to us who is helping you manufacture these half-baked narratives, making you look like an uneducated fool. And that's the bottom line. So, quite good and structured response, but we have another quite interesting answer from Ocelot. And he wrote this: George, I did not selectively quote anything. I accurately described what happened. Of course, these weren't findings made by a jury, because this was an administrative proceeding, but they are findings made by the commission that the respondent consented to on condition of wait a second, I will show you it right here. A condition of the opposite settlement offer. And yes, I'm aware that these findings are not binding on any other person in any other proceeding, as well as the fact that these conclusions were not admitted to or denied. But as I am sure you are aware, the language quite literally means that the respondent cannot publicly deny the Commission's findings, or they are in breach of the terms of the settlement. Still waiting for a proper response to my 6490 thread that is not AI slop or a bunch of deflection that avoids the topic entirely. And guys, it is quite interesting, but yes, I told you multiple times that we have to know more about this story, and a lot of people or trying to cherry pick the facts. They want to use the facts that are supporting their theory or their position, and they avoid to disclose any facts that are contradicting with their theory or their position. And I don't see any exceptions in this rule. On top of that, let me show you another quite interesting thread from Ocelot. He wrote this tweet on January 14th, and he wrote, as the MMTLP NBH next amended S1 supposedly approaches, I'd like to hear others' thoughts on the language and the potential implications of the most recent S1 amendment. The amendment S1 states, we are offering directly to selected accredited investors up to, and here is the 40 million shares that will be sold allegedly to some selected accredited investors. And here is quite an interesting part in my opinion. Ocelot wrote, well, it looks like NextBridge has kept this language in their latest amended S1, coupled with the fact that NextBridge still maintains that they have no plans to facilitate DTC eligibility. My theory is that this will be sold to short sellers to close out short positions. Their short positions. That would explain the use of Form S1 rather than a private placement under Reg D, as a prime broker would likely not accept restricted securities to cover the short. However, nothing is forcing these shorts to close. Well, there may be an incentive to get this short off their books. I don't see a scenario where they are paying any premium whatsoever. And guys, in my opinion, it is quite a very interesting statement, and a lot of I thought about this story a lot. And when MMTLP, when NBH just recently filed their S1, that is not effective, by the way, I started to think, why do they need 40 million shares to sell? Why they need so many or so little shares to sell? And I found this tweet, and I start thinking even more. And guys, let me remind you that the most recent dilutional process was structured like this. The majority of this debt belongs to Greg McCabe and his family. And it is quite interesting to see, and on the one hand it might look like Greg McCabe has skin in the game, but this statement of Ocelot is a missing link to this entire puzzle. And guys, we know that the official number of shares shorted according to FINRA's FAQ is about 2.65 million shares. And Greg McCabe, in his statement, in his public statement that was made from NBH, he clearly says that he has an evidence that there is much more than 2.65 million shares shorted. And we know that potentially these short positions should be closed, and because of the non-tradable status of the NBH company, shorters cannot do this. And guys, In this case, Greg McCabe structured the position of NBH like the company like this. The company has a lot of debts that it should pay to Greg McCabe and his family. And when and if this assumption is correct, and if he will sell these shares to cover short positions, first of all, personally, I am extremely interested in the price of this offering, and probably we will not know these numbers, but this number might be the baseline for you to settle your position as well. On top of that, guys, these proceedings, and we know that all this money will be collected in order to pay the company debts and in order to just operate. And this means that this money will be paid to Greg McCabe and his family. And it is quite weird, but I think it is a very legitimate theory, because Greg McCabe doesn't want to disclose the number of shares shorted. He doesn't want to tell any additional information to shareholders, and he doesn't do anything in order to solve this problem with the potential short sellers or authorities in court. He didn't file any lawsuits, and this is another huge question mark. And guys, if it happens, potentially you will be fooled one more time, and all this money will be collected again by him and his family. It is just my assumption, but I'm open to any comments. Please share your thoughts about this theory, and give me your 2 cents. What do you think about the most recent S1 and this explanation as well? So I think that's all information that I want to provide you. If you like my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel with notification bell, and see you guys and girls next time. Bye!
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed.